Hello friends, and welcome to the Amy's Animal Art Taxidermy channel. I have got a video today that is going to benefit both the beginner taxidermist and somebody who has been doing taxidermy for a little while but maybe wants to add some new tools and products to their studio. What I thought I would focus on is basic taxidermy tools you need, moving on up to the more advanced tools for doing taxidermy. You don't really need a whole lot to get started. You need a lot if you want to make the job easy, but you can collect those things as you move throughout your taxidermy career. I've got a lot of things here in this shop, some that I use constantly, daily, other things that are nice to just have here and there. So I was going to clean up my shop and get everything organized out for this video, but that would have just looked kind of unrealistic, wouldn't it? People already come into my shop and say it's fairly well organized. It almost looks like I don't actually do any taxidermy in here. So it is what it is. It looks just like it does on my daily work table. And we're just going to pick through and look at some of these tools that I have. So you might want to make a list as we move along through these tools. That way you can look in your taxidermy catalog and see which ones you need from there. And some other things are available locally through places like Harbor Freight or Walmart. A lot of things you can get right in your own community. First, let's talk about skinning tools, the very first step in taxidermy. I like to use these scalpel blades with a surgical scalpel handle. These are Havel's blades. Beware of blades that you get on eBay or Amazon. If they're cheap blades, if they seem like they're a quarter of the price from the ones available through the taxidermy companies, that's because you're going to use 4 times as many skinning an animal. They are generally pretty dull. So I buy mine directly from Havel's, like the number 22 blades. There's different sizes of them, smaller and larger blades. So find what you like the best, but this is my setup for skinning anything and everything. Scalpel and scalpel blades. I also got a variety of other knives. These are the Victorinox knives. These are great for carving foam and working on your forms. Especially this one, I like the bird's beak knife. You can get knockoff of these two, but the Victorinox is the best one. And they're really only a few bucks each. These are great knives. I have these all arranged on like a magnet here. Scissors. Maybe not your preschool child scissors, but these are from my kids and they made it out here. They actually work pretty good. Also have over here a hammer, but I actually don't find a lot of use for like a regular construction hammer. I think you call this a tack hammer, and I got this at Harbor Freight, and this has a lot of uses for setting in pens and various things with habitat and form modification. So get you a little tack hammer. It would be crazy if I didn't mention measuring tape, obviously. These are very important. You want to get a flexible measuring tape, not like your metal, construction measuring tape, but these are available through the taxidermy companies, or you can get like a 6-pack of them on Amazon really cheap, and they extend out and retract back in. Very, very useful. This thing is dirty. But this is ear openers right here. I have both the small variety for mammal ears and also the larger one for opening up deer ears. This to me is an essential tool. And this is only going to be available through a taxidermy supply company. Various pliers. This one, Vice Grip, is actually a staple in my shop. I like these really heavy pliers. I've got more of snips here, and also a needle nose set of pliers would be great. Looking over to here, I've got various Sharpies, and this wire brush serves a lot of purposes, and you can get these at Harbor Freight and other places, but this has a lot of uses in cleaning up around the antlers and also in habitat work. I like the wire brushes. This is a little tool that I think goes by a fish flesher. for fleshing fish, but is really great during the fleshing and tanning process. I use this for a lot of things. And I think you can get this from both the Taxidermy Supply Company and also some stores that sell sculpting supplies will sell it as like a clay modeling tool. I've got a lot of mess here in these drawers. Lots of paint brushes and stuff. These are my stout roughers. You get these from a Taxidermy Supply Company. This is a big one and then a slim one. Both of them are essential. Get both sizes. These are for scratching up the form and taking that shellac off of the surface. Various brushes for grooming the animals. I have a bigger one around here. I don't see where that's gotten to, but this is nice. This is from Amazon, and it actually broke, but after it broke, it was even more useful. So it did have this top piece on it, but that broke. So now I have two sides, and I actually like to take it, and when I'm grooming around the cheeks of a bobcat or something, I'll bend this, and you'll actually be able to get into areas that you couldn't when it was rigid. So this is just a double-sided pet brush, and you can get these all over the place, but I got this one on Amazon and it works really well. Sewing thread for sewing up your taxidermy mounts. I'm very specific about this. So you might think you could just use any sewing thread or fishing line, but I'm particular. This is Berkeley's Fireline Crystal. I use a 6-pound crystal for just about every project, from giraffes to squirrels. But there's different thicknesses of it that you can get. But this specific thread, this works different, very different than any monofilament fishing line, and absolutely it's different than even other braided lines. Some may have their own opinions on that, but can't go wrong with this line. It's very easy to work with. And then needles, and I'm not sure, that's going to be a little too blurry to show you, but it's a tri-pointed needle. It's not just your normal rounded tip sewing needle. So this has a 3-pointed blade on the end, or 3-pointed tip, and just goes right through the leather, no matter how thick it is. Really nice. And maybe I just have small hands, but I do like one about that long. I don't really need a needle that's much bigger than that. A lot of people say they can't sew with this needle. So if this is a problem for you, they have like curved ones that look like S or a half moon, and those are good too, as long as they have that pointed tip, that cutting tip. All these things I've mentioned so far, I would consider to be pretty much essentials for taxidermy. So unfortunately, they're not very expensive. They're relatively cheap tools to get. Set up with, maybe spend a couple $100 on them, and you can get everything you need to do basic taxidermy adjustments. These got these both from McKinsey. This is a lip tucking tool, and then this one is very, very narrow, and I like this for tucking eyes. If I try to tuck eyes with this one, I just have too much of a gap between my clay and my glass. So get you one that's very, very slim right here, and these have lasted forever. Lip tucking tool and eye tucking tool. This little rasp is very good for carving inside noses. I think you can get these at some craft supply stores locally, but this will be for hollowing out inside your nose and doing various other rasping activities. And this is, I cannot remember where I got this, but perhaps the supply companies sell this, and this is a nice little doodad that you can use to groom around the whiskers. It's a 2-sided brush with different ends, but worst comes to worst, you can make yourself one like this using a mascara brush. Clean it out really good so that the mascara is off of it, but you'll find that a mascara brush looks similar to somewhere in between these two things, but it actually works really good for grooming. So if you're a girl, you probably already have one. If you're a guy, ask your wife not to throw away the bottle next time. Welcome to the wall of DeWalt power tools. I built this wall to showcase my DeWalt tools, and DeWalt will not sponsor me for anything, but that's okay. I love their tools, so I'm still going to promote it. But I wouldn't say every one of these tools that I have here is an essential to taxidermy, but you absolutely need you a good impact drill and then a regular drill driver. I also use this jigsaw quite a bit when cutting out bases. Probably the tool I use the most beyond my drill is my reciprocating saw with this really long base on it, or long blade, I mean. You can cut the antlers off the deer heads when you're caping them out, and also for carving forms. I will use this really long blade for like carving it like a turkey and shaving the thickness off if you need to downsize a form. I really love this thing. I have a chainsaw and a blower, which I don't really use for taxidermy, but the circular saw is useful, and also the sander I use to soften my dry tanned hides. Moving on over to the toolbox, what a wonderful mess we have over here. I got all kinds of goodies in here, but before I forget, don't forget the gloves. These are good nitrile gloves, and I like this holder. You can buy this at Harbor Freight. Just to show you, you can stick this anywhere, and it is also magnetic. So gloves, screws of all varieties. You're going to need definitely, and probably the size that I use the most is a 3-inch screw. That's what I use for altering forms, putting antlers onto the form, lots of stuff. So I blow through those. And then I also like 2-inch. I've got some 4-inch here, and the 1.25 inch is really good for putting the hangers on the back of the deer heads and other small, shallow applications. So I use a lot of screws, and I use the exterior wood screws because they're a lot stronger than the drywall screws. Let's see what other goodies I have over here. A lot of stuff here on these shelves, so I'm going to go through it bin by bin to show you some of the things that I use. This is my epoxy sculpt collection. So for the finished work on your deer heads and other small game mounts, I would suggest getting both brown and pink. This stuff comes in a 2-part, and you mix it 50-50, and that's what's going to go inside your noses and around your eyes to fill in those gaps after drying. So this is all my epoxies here. My Mod Podge, which I used to make little nodules on the deer noses once dry. And what I use for that is this bottle, and it comes with a tip. You put the Mod Podge in here, and you dot the noses, make that texture on the deer nose. So that's the epoxy bin. I've got some other items up here that I use for epoxy and foam. These are a mess, so I'm going to try to not get it all over my hands. But these products are called So Strong, and they come in red. I have it in red, black, and a brown over here. I tell you, I can't keep these bottles looking nice no matter what I do, so I just have them sitting up here. But a little bit goes a long way. They're made by Smooth On, and if you drop this into your 2-part foam, if you can turn it brown or black, is really great for habitat work. But I keep it up here in this basket because it is a mess. Ooh, what's in here? Random bags. Scalpel blade that shouldn't be in my flocking. This is red flock, basically red flock. And this also has several uses. Mostly I will mix it in with that pink epoxy sculpt we just talked about, and it gives the look of like fibers inside the nose. This will look like blood vessels scattered through that pink epoxy sculpt. So that's kind of cool stuff, and this is going to last me the rest of my life, so it goes a long way. Bags, freezer bags, sandwich bags, trash bags, of course. This is where I keep my scalpel blades. That's like almost a career's worth of scalpel blades in here, at least 10 years. Let's move to the other side. We'll have some more room. Let me show you what else is on the shelves here. Some various spray paints. I really like this Rust-Oleum camouflage line. I buy it in green and brown. They also have a tan. All these colors are going to be great for finishing out rocks and habitat. So that's mostly what all the spray paints are for right there. More Havel's scalpel blades. Again, only Havel's brand will do. Temper paints, brown and black. This is for tinting like anything other than foam. Foam does not react well to this water-based type stuff, but this is for tinting mache, paper mache, stuff that we'll use for making rocks. So more paints right there. This is the type of airbrush I use. I am a big advocate for the Pache single action airbrush. This is called the Pache H, and I can't kill this airbrush. I tell you what, I beat this airbrush up. I can't even believe it puts up with it. So I've let paint dry on the tip, and you can't kill it. So this thing has been going on for about 15 years for me and still works like the day I got it. So that's the airbrush I would recommend. I've got some molding and casting products over here. I don't want to get too complicated today. I'm trying to show you things that I use for basic taxidermy. And some of these are things you might not necessarily need if you're just mounting a deer head. But this is a walkthrough of my supplies here in my shop. Up here I have a variety of habitat products, really fun stuff, moss and lichen fuzz. Have a lot of products from scenes in nature of various mosses. This is their static moss gun right here, which really needs a whole other video to demonstrate. But this works with their products and will make moss that kind of stands up all natural on your rocks. It's fun. It's involved, but I love doing habitat work. Got a bunch of stuff here. I got these at Michael's. But this is fake grass that when you look at it like this, looks kind of fake, but you can pull off just a few little blades, and it comes on this tray, which is cool, and pulls off into these little things. And you can just add a sprig here and there, and if you kind of dust it with some dirt, it tones down the glossiness of the plastic, and this looks pretty cool. Up here we've got borax. Now this is great for both cleaning off your skull caps, or if you're just getting started out and you want to mount a squirrel, I'd feel safe with using this as a dry preservative instead of tan. If you want to learn how to tan hides, I have a whole nother video on that. But this is what we consider dry preservative, and you can get this right at your grocery store. Before I use this as a step stool, I'll just go ahead and show you this. Of course, you're going to need hide paste, and this is McKinsey paste. This is a good paste. If you don't need 5 gallons of it, you can buy it in 1 gallon. But I like to use the McKinsey paste and then thicken it up with a dextrin or a powdered hide paste and give it a little more thickness, because this stuff's pretty thin, but it's a great hide paste. It's similar to Pro 1 in my opinion. I just don't order Pro 1 because they live too far away. I have to ship it in. You'll pay like $50, $60 on a 5-gallon pail. But I pick them up from McKinsey, so that's a good hide paste. Hop it up here. Okay, let's adjust this camera up a little bit. Let's see what things we have up here. Oh, yes, an oil paint kit. So I use a lot of different oil paints, and if you can get you a kit like this from Hobby Lobby, available from any craft store. I don't take very good organized care of this. I'm organized with some things, but not so much with my paints. But let me show you a few colors that I feel are essential. This is for mammal taxidermy. I don't do birds or fish. Birds or fish are a whole nother thing. So you're going to need a lot of colors for birds, but this is a mammals palette. We use basic ivory black. I like this color. This is called Sand. And these are the Master's Touch brand, but you can find these in other brands. This was one I use a lot. Burnt Umber, as well as Raw Umber, which is a darker brown, and Raw Sienna. I like all these colors, and we'll also need a basic white, and this flesh yellow is good for mixing in some applications as well. All the other colors don't really use, so this kit was kind of a bit of a waste, but you'll find that it's almost cheaper to buy than buy them individually. That's some oil paints there. I'm only going to show you this just because it's interesting, but these are rock molds. I made these out of silicone, so I got all my rock molds stored up here, and all I got to do is pour epoxy into these, or two-part epoxy or foam, and you can make small rocks with these. If you're going to be finishing the backs of mounts, you want some felt. I also have some nice pleather and different types of leathers for finishing pedestal backs. This also looks really nice just on the back of a base or back of a deer mount. Gives it a finished look. And you're going to need like some rope to tie it in. I like to put rope around my pedestal mounts. So this is like a craft cord. This is actually way cheaper to buy it like this than in those small little rolls. And this came from Hobby Lobby. You just have to sometimes look on other aisles, look outside the box. Over here at my washing station, these are the products I like to use to wash my hides. Again, we are not talking about tanning products in this video. There is another video talking about the products I use to tan. So these are products more for shampooing your mount or shampooing your hide after it's tanned. I really like to use this Pert Plus shampoo plus conditioner on a tanned hide. Really soaps them up nice, and I like the smell and the feel of it. I also have basic Downy fabric softener, and this is good for I add a splash, just a tiny dot. And this works good for also softening those hides in a final wash. You don't want to use a lot, but just a little bit here. Other products I have over here is Mount Saver Hoof and Horn. This is a Mount Medics product. I like to use that up inside the horns of African animals. Anywhere I'm kind of nervous about needing to bug-proof that. This is just about gone, but this is urethane 2-part foam, and this is a staple in any taxidermy supply catalog. You'll be able to find this. You mix it 50-50, and somehow I always get to the end, and it's not 50-50. So I'm making some miscalculations along the way, I guess you could say. But to help with that is digital scale. If you measure your 2 parts, actually weighing it, then you'll be a lot more accurate than just mixing it visually. So 2-part foam, that is a taxidermy essential. Get you some of that. Moving around the work table and seeing what we have here. We've got some Bondo, not actual Bondo brand because I can't hardly find that anymore, but this is available from Advance Auto, either Advance or AutoZone. I got this at the auto supply store, and it was pretty good. It has a blue hardener, which I'm not as crazy about, but any body filler really should do. This kind I got, it's way heavier, and it's fiberglass reinforced, and this is good for ears or applications where you need to be a little bit stronger. I've just started using this, but this wasn't too bad. So that's the Bondo right there. Clay, you're definitely going to need some clay. This is a 25-pound brick of critter clay. I like to use critter clay around the eyes. I pretty much reserve this just for eyes and noses. Beyond that, I'll use, this is the remainder of a bag that I got from Hobby Lobby. And this is just considered potter's clay is what they call it. And it's half the price. And it works just fine for blending over skull caps, earbuds, everything like that. It would work for anything in a bind, but I feel like the critter clay has just a little bit less shrinkage, little bit nicer product. From your grocery store, saran wrap, and I like to use this in molds, kind of as a mold release, and also in the nostrils of deer mounts to tuck the nostril skin in while it dries and hold the detail in the nose. This is my messy paint table. Again, I'm sometimes more organized than this, but sometimes not. So here we are today. This is what you call a service cart. I really like this thing because I can roll it around. If I'm doing finished work on a deer, I just roll it right over there. So this is where I keep all my painting stuff. I have my airbrush, that Pache H I talked about. It's right here. And I usually keep it sitting down in a cup of lacquer thinner just to keep things kind of clean down the tip. So I sit that there. Paints, lacquer thinner. I like to use lacquer paints. Most of my paints are Life Tone. Pretty much work off of 3 colors, which would be jet black and cocoa brown and natural flesh. And from there I've got, I believe this is Mars Red. I can't even read it anymore, but I have a dark reddish pink that you can use to adjust the color of this pink here, as well as some lighter buckskin tan, Dusty pink is a good one. It's almost like a white, but it's great for blending as well. And then just a basic white. So you see I got about 8 bottles over here. And that's what I use to paint off of. Other things on my paint table here, Windex for cleaning the eyes after I polished them off with lacquer thinner. Staple gun, should have mentioned this with the hand tools earlier, but this first, stapling the backs of deer mounts. You're going to need that. This is my thicker brush. This is what I was looking for earlier. Just a little bit thicker comb. It's got a very thick construction. I got this one on Amazon too. Does not have a name on it, so I can't point you towards exactly what, but just look for a more expensive brush. You know it's going to be higher quality, and this works great for bears. I like to groom bears with that. I like to keep my paints inside these jars. This makes it highly convenient. You just pull off this little tip. You got these little covers for the paint jar, and clip it onto the airbrush like this. And it makes it really quick to change colors because I can spray. I just pull this off, run a little bit of lacquer through it, and move on to the next color. So I got all my essential colors in these little jars right here. And since they are lacquers, I use a paint mask, respirator, when I'm painting with these lacquer paints. Other things would be Q-tips. Q-tips, very useful. Paintbrushes of all kinds, lots of paintbrushes. And got some solo cups here for mixing. And real quick, I do want to mention, this is tile grout. Tile grout. It's just very dusty stuff, and I have it in tan and also a dark charcoal color. You can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot in a variety of different colors. And this is for both habitat work and for actually a lot of touch-ups on deer heads, like scars and areas where you got to cover the seam, like on African stuff. This works great for blending it in. I think it's basically like dirt, but you're grinding it into these areas, and you'd be surprised how well it actually works to blend or repair. And you can't read this anymore, but this is Future Floor Gloss, and this is available like in the floor restoration section of the hardware store. And this is kind of an acrylic actually, and works really great for putting over acrylic eyes or putting just around the eyes, even if they're glass eyes. Make that wet look on the eyes and the nose. This is really easy to work with. Doesn't dry immediately, and I just apply it by brush. So I like that stuff. This thing right here is called a Master Blaster. And this is why I'm able to get my bobcats and my small game animals so fluffy. It is a high-powered air blower. There are cheaper versions of it available. This is the true Master Blaster with double motors. I'm pretty sure this goes on Amazon for about $4.50 right now. But it's very high-powered, nothing like a hair dryer or even an air compressor. It's just very high-powered air, especially when you use both motors. From the video, I don't think you can tell the velocity of that, but let's just say it will blow a set of mini blinds right off the windows. And it's great for especially those thicker animals like bears and wolves. You can use both motors, really get up under that fur and stand it up. We're getting into the bigger stuff now, mounting stands. I have a variety of mounting stands over here that you can take a look at. This is the 4-head Bob Father E mounting stand. I believe Matuska Supply sells this. This thing is great because you can adjust the heads up at an angle and down. I'll have 4 deer in rotation on this thing when I'm finishing them. This is a standard Mackenzie mounting stand right here. It's very, very old and rusty, but it's still holding up. This is the floor model, and I've also got one that's bolted to the floor. I have several of these. So get you a good mounting stand. You're definitely going to need one of those. It's the habitat corner over here, and it's never quite enough. So I have plans to make me a whole chest of drawers that will hold habitat material. But I've got a variety of fall leaves. I collected those back in the fall, and a lot of them have actually retained their fall color. So that's pretty cool. I save those for, the time of year when you can't find good leaves. And over here, I got a variety of moss here in this green moss that I've collected and dried out. So we got moss, different types of dirt. This is Eco Earth, which is a bedding for reptiles that you can buy from PetSmart and also on Amazon, I think. And I use that for a lot of habitat scenes. And then I've got more of a rockier dirt, all kinds of different lichens and stuff. Just anything you could need for habitat over here. I feel like we've talked about everything you could need taxidermy-wise. The only thing I didn't go over was tanning products, which, like I said, that is on another video if you want to learn about tanning your hides. I also have a fleshing machine that goes along with the tanning. But other than that, you're going to need a form. You're going to need eyes and ear liners for your animal. I believe I've touched on everything that I need for basic taxidermy mount and then some. If you have any ideas for other videos you'd like to see, please let me know. Check out my other videos on YouTube. My account here is called Amy's Animal Art. I'm also on Facebook at Amy's Animal Art as well. Thanks for following, and I'll see you in the next video.